What do we got? For us right now, life's kind of you're scrambling around right now because you got a bunch of things going on. We got, obviously our guys finished up with final exams. Great weekend. We have 6 of our guys graduating this weekend. I think puts up that we'll have 12 graduates playing in the bowl game this year, which I think is really is fantastic. And, when you look college athletics, and I know so much gets thrown on it, I don't know that we'll have 12 guys drafted this year, but we have 12 college graduates in the NFL. And so you look at the importance of what it is to be a student athlete, and I think sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle, the majority of what happens with the majority of guys over the minority that end up going on and, playing football as a career and playing professionally. So I think that's always an exciting time for the young men in our program. Coach has been on the road. We'll got practice this weekend, and I think y'all will be out there. I think we're going to have to close it for the public today just because we're going to have to, with the weather, we're going to be in the indoor facility, and you're just going to run out of space. But we'll have open practice for the public tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. We use those a little bit more developmental, basic, fundamental practices. Then Monday we'll get into game plan. So then on the game plan practice, we'll go back to closing practices. So at that stage, I don't have a whole lot for you new injury-wise, but you'll be able to see all that probably today. Hopefully we're healthy, we're ready to go. If anything, it's little bumps and bruises on guys or just as they're getting ready to go. But we expect the guys that have been out will still be out for the bowl game. I don't expect to get the only guy that's would be Kyle Trask that has been out that has a good shot to be available for the bowl game. So, questions? What do y'all want to know about? I don't know. What do you guys want to know about?
Anybody else come to you and talk about going out earlier?
No, we've had a bunch of talks with guys. We had our guys turn things in, and everybody's waiting to find out the evaluations, to find out where they're at, and to make an educated decision. So I know I'm in my estimation, I know we'll have at least one more that'll come out for the draft. But beyond that, I'm not sure.
And everybody says they're playing, right?
That's what they've told me. That's what they've. I mean, no. Everybody has told me that they plan up. No one's come up, but I mean, we'll see. Again, like I said before last week, it's a personal decision for everybody to go do that. But I mean, you're playing a great opponent, so I think for guys a great opportunity when you're playing in a New Year's Six Bowl, you're playing against a top 10 team. Even if you are thinking you're going to leave for the NFL, I don't care if you're a redshirt sophomore or a fifth-year senior. You get an opportunity to go play against a team full of a bunch of NFL talent and go put it on tape what you can do. So it's one more chance to go build your resume as a football player.
Is that polite that you're expecting? Chicago?
No, I'm not going to go who it is, but no.
That's fine.
I
thought
it wouldn't be him, but I'm not going to say who it is, but not him.
Okay. What do you think about? I mean, you brought it up. What do you think about guys not playing in the ball games?
Like I said before, it's a personal decision for guys. I think they look at it, and you have to look. You make all the arguments you want on both sides of the story, but when you're playing in one of these games, you're playing in a big game. I mean, you're talking opportunity to go put on film against a really good football team, against really good players, and you're building your resume. So if you are you want the opportunity. It's like, hey, if our guys are, I'm good. I probably got all my grades. I'm good to go, and I'm getting hired by Microsoft. But I'm going to skip all my computer engineering finals because I'm already good to go. Probably some things you might learn and that might help you if you go work for Microsoft. You're just building your resume, and so. But you can understand for everybody. I think it's a personal decision. I always tell everybody, whatever you're doing, just be all in. Don't have any regrets. Think about it, weigh up your options, why you're doing it, why you're not doing it, and believe in what you're doing, and be happy with your decision, and be all in with it one way or the other.
How does Emory Jones's role? I mean, what is his role in these coming weeks? Because now you get these extra practices. Do you try to get him even maybe more involved in some leadership and stuff to see how he handles that?
He's getting a lot of reps of practices right now. Obviously, Monday we haven't really started putting the game plan together. While you're on the road and flying from one place to next, you're watching a bunch of film within the game plan, but we haven't sat with the game plan for what his role will be coming into the game. But at the practices, he's certainly getting a lot of reps and a lot of extra time, and you'll see out there today of him building for the, getting him ready for the spring.
Dan, you guys moved the USF game up. You got Miami coming up, I believe, next year. And there's been all this headlines about the UCF conversation. So I was just curious, how much input do you have in the future schedules, and what are your thoughts about playing a team like UCF given their current status?
Yeah, I'm great. You know what, Scott, I know our administration takes care of it, but a lot of the games have been scheduled before I got here, so I didn't have much to do with them. But in the future, he always comes and we talk and consult about what our thoughts are, what would be good. I'm great playing. Teams all around the country. We've had discussions of. I know the Miami game next year is a neutral site game. We've had discussions about neutral site opponents in different areas. Discussions about playing other Power 5 schools. Who would fit? Do we want to play home and homes with more Power 5 schools? I know we already have one. I mean, you look at next year's schedule. Non-conference, we play Miami and Florida State. I don't know many people are going to be able to match that resume of how tough a schedule that'll be non-conference-wise. We have all those discussions. And I think he said, UCF, like we did with USF, they're in that league. If you're a non-Power 5 school, I have no problem. I'd love to. They want to, I think we offered them a 2-for-1, like we do with most schools in their position, which I think is actually really a good deal that, they'd have the opportunity to have an SEC school play at their place. Would potentially be a big deal for them. I know I've done it that way. When I was Mississippi State, we did it, played some 2-for-1s as well with schools, and smaller conferences like them get the opportunity to have an SEC school is a big plus for them. So I think Scott brought it up to them. If they want to try to toughen their schedule, that'd be great. It'd be a good opportunity for them, I think, if they wanted to take it. But that's up to them.
I guess just one more note on that. I was just curious, they're in kind of a unique situation right now. You look at playing a non-Power 5 school. Mm-hmm. Normally, it wouldn't maybe help your strength of schedule, but beating a team like them right now probably would. So I was curious, how does it change when their brand elevates?
Not really, not at all. That's a year-to-year thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. If you were in 2004, you had Utah on your schedule. You said, boy, they might not have been a non-Power 5 team, but everybody played them, lost. So. I guess, kind of with those, I think you schedule those things in advance. You never know really what that team's going to be like when you have the opportunity to go play them in the future. With that, you look at that like every year. There's always, different teams popping up, and this is, they're having special seasons. So I guess it helps your strength of schedule if they're good that year, and it potentially hurts if they're not very good that year.
And obviously, every game's important, every bowl game's important. But how important is this one for you guys to keep momentum going that you've built through this 9-3 season?
Well, I'm not going to say it makes or breaks the program in any way, shape, or form for any of the teams. Your bowl games don't do it, but I do know this: that we don't play again until next beginning of September, and that's a long time to of not being happy. I think I've coached in 7 bowl games as a head coach, and the 5 I think you guys probably know my stats better than me, but I think I'm 5-2.
5-2.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So those 5 are great off seasons. Those 2 aren't that great off seasons. One of the things. The other thing I always think about the bowl game is if you win the bowl game, everything about it was a great week, right? If you don't win the game, it's just like, didn't enjoy the week as much. And so I think all of that, the whole thing is about winning the game. It's a celebration. Makes the bowl experience better, but it makes you have a great feeling going into the offseason. It motivates you going into the offseason because you're coming off a win and a high, and the guys are excited, can't wait to get back out there. You win this game, you're going to finish in the top 10. In the country, and now you go into your offseason program, say we're a top 10 team from last year coming into this year, and you just can feel a little bit more energy in the weight room, in the off and running and practice, the whole deal, in the offseason.
With these first couple practices, how much will we see just guys maybe that were redshirting this year until you get into the game plan and you're working with other guys?
Yeah, like UC practice today, there's no scout team work. It's all good on good. It's kind of like spring ball or early training camp practice. A lot of fundamentals, individual, and all our team stuff is good on good, not scout team, working on things. It's all about base offense, base defense, getting individual time to do things. So the threes will get more reps than the ones today. So that's what you get to see in these type of practices.
And then obviously you're game planning to beat FSU, but was there any thought in your mind that it would be nice to have Emory available for the bowl game given how many practices you get?
It was. We, like you saw, I think in that game, we didn't put in a package for him in that game. He was the backup quarterback in that game. So it was, and then it was one of those deals. If there was an injury, Felipe was injured, he would go play, so that because he might have to be the backup for the bowl game. A long time till we play. A lot of practices, you don't know what's going to happen. So within the FSU game, that was the plan. Like if a helmet popped off, he wouldn't have gone in, and you saw at the end of the game he didn't go in that situation. So that was kind of the plan going into it. If he was going to play, he was going to play because there was an injury and he had to go. And part of it said if there was a severe injury that he played a significant time in Florida State game and he was going to start the bowl game, that might be worth the year, for that type of experience in those big moments to have him play.
Who goes in if a helmet pops on? Sproles?
Yeah. Yeah, Sproles went in, did a good job. I mean, Sproles knows what he's doing now. You know what I mean? Sproles going to walk in there. He's going to know every check, every play, every handoff, what everybody's doing. Sproles knows what's going on. So, I mean, if you got to put somebody in a game to run a play or two and know that I'm going to go in there, he might not go in there right now and be able to win the game on his shoulders, but making sure everything gets done the right way, he's your guy.
Now that you've had time to kind of dig more deeply into Michigan, what are some of the biggest concerns, challenges?
Well, I think one of the things you look, because I didn't see a whole lot. I know you look at the Ohio State game like, they gave up 62 points. And then, you look, I think Nebraska was at minus 5 yards of total offense in the fourth quarter, or whatever it was. I mean, something ridiculous. And so I think they're one of the best defensive teams, if not the best defensive team in the country. They have depth. They have guys that play hard. They roll them through. They're very, very aggressive in their defensive scheme. I mean, they're going to percentage-wise, I don't know if I've seen a team that blitzes as much as they do. And they're going to attack you. And I think you've seen them change offensively and grow into themselves. On the other side of the ball, with a quarterback that maybe is not as traditional of what they've done in the past, but has a good skill set and can improvise and do a lot of different things. And so I think they've expanded around him, which has opened up their offense and made them a little bit more explosive.
When you have this much time to prepare, how much does it kind of open up the playbook for you?
It does. You got to be careful, because what you always got to be careful is my time to prepare is not as important as the player's time to prepare. What can they handle? What can they do? What can they process? How much can they go and execute at a high level? Because they're the ones who have to go out on the field and do it. So for us, like I said, I mean, we're juggling a lot of different things right now. Managing this team through finals and expectations, preparing for the bowl game, and recruiting with signing day upon us. So it's probably not as much time as you used to have preparing for bowl games in the past. When you'd be like, okay, we have plenty of time to get things ready. And then being in a little bit earlier kickoff, being the 29th, where you don't, not a traditional New Year's Day time that you're playing the game in these games, just scrunches the calendar a little bit more. Go ahead.
In terms of the developmental practices, kind of going back to that, do you have a message for some of these younger guys that are going to get a chance to maybe get some
Absolutely.
more snaps?
This is, we talk to everybody. Everybody you got on the field today is at a different level and a different stage of what they're doing. If I'm a veteran guy that's played a lot of football games, I might be working a little bit of one or two technique things and getting my body right, staying in the right position and making sure I'm getting game ready for the next game. If I'm a guy that redshirted, this is my opportunity. I'm at a different stage. This is my opportunity to get myself out of redshirt mode into playing mode. And get a lot of quality reps and build a foundation that I move into spring with in the off season, as we get into off season review, off season film study, and get ready for spring practice. So everybody's at a different stage, and make sure they take advantage of the stage they're at. And don't worry about what the other guys are doing in the developmental practice. Worry about where you're at, and are you putting yourself in a position to better yourself for the future.
And then in terms of Michigan liking to blitz a lot and kind of being aggressive, I'm sure your guys are probably a little better prepared going against Todd's defense.
Yeah, our defense blitzes a lot. They play a little different. They're a very aggressive press man coverage team when they blitz, and so it's a little bit different. But I mean, we're used to at practice. You'll see, Todd's not afraid to blitz at practice either. So.
Hey, Dan, we've seen some coordinator changes across the state and some other job openings. Generally speaking, for recruiting purposes, when that happens, do you sort of change your strategy at all with certain kids that are currently committed to those teams, or do you kind of just let things play out a little bit more?
About those teams? No. Listen, I want guys to come to Florida because they want to come to Florida. I want guys to come here because they want to go to the premier academic school. And you look at the national rankings of where we are academically. None of those schools are in the category with us. So I want guys to come here that want to play to a Gator standard and win a national championship. And our program's too hard for that. I want guys to want to come here because they want to be Florida Gators, not because something happened at some other school. We want guys that desperately want to be Gators.
And just to clarify on something that you said earlier, when you were asked directly about Polite,
yeah,
you said he wasn't that guy. Does that mean that he's coming back, or he's still having those
I think
conversations?
he's still researching. He's a guy that's met with me. He's one of the ones that has met with me about gathering information and researching what in the end, you should study. It's a business decision. If you're a top 10 pick, you're getting $30 million. If you're a second or third rounder, you're getting $4 million. There's a big difference between those two numbers. That's a lot of money difference, and so I think guys need to be really educated as to what you're doing and how it's going to affect you in the future. And one of the things you got to think is, as guys come back to college, you're coming back to, if you come back, you're trying to up yourself, right? Improve your status and build a foundation for you to better succeed at the next level. Okay, and you might have 1 year to have to do that. If you leave early and you're not a high draft pick, you have to perform for 4 years, stay healthy for 4 years before you have the opportunity to get a second contract. So, if I'll give you $4 million today, or come back and see me a year from now, I'll give you $30 million. Which one are you taking?
Is that an option?
Yeah, you just take the 4 out. You'll take the 4 and be gone. But no, I think even when you just look at those things of where you're at, how you compare to other people, where you get drafted, and what your prospects are long term, not just short term. I think if you educate yourself the right way, make a good decision. The same thing I tell all of them. It's like playing in the bowl game, though. Whatever you're doing, be all in on. Have zero regrets about your decision, in whatever you do. But there's two things about your decision. You got to, your gut, right? And your head. Your gut means you're going to show up every day and be happy about the decision and be really glad at what you're doing. Your head is, am I making a smart decision? Financially for me, short, long term, of what's going to be the best decision for me. And I think when they weigh those things up, I hope guys just make good decisions. I've seen it. As a coach, you're oftentimes, I know, you're the one that, if it doesn't work out, you're the one left picking up the pieces. Players, hey, all the agents and the runners and this, tell me this, told me that, tell me this. 2 years later, and they come back in your office with nothing, absolutely nothing, no degree, no anything. And, you ask them, hey, well, where's the agent? Where's the runner? Where's the guy that told you were a first rounder? Why hadn't he taken care of you? But you're the one left picking up the pieces. So to me, I always hope guys just make really good decisions so that I don't have to, unfortunately try to pick up the pieces of their life that got ruined several years earlier. I think there was it 108, I think was the number, right? 108 guys have been listed as first-round draft picks in mock drafts this year by experts. You do the math. There's 64 that go in the first 2 rounds. And I'll be honest with you, you talk to anybody in the business. Go talk to any NFL. If you're a first rounder, you leave. If you're a second rounder, you think about it. If you're below the second round, you should stay. Pretty standard. Most GMs, coaches, NFL coaches I talk to, that'd be their belief, their philosophy. That's mine, you know. So guys are out there not talking to experts, not getting information. They click on a website and they say, look, I'm a projected first rounder. 108 have been listed that way. Only 64 go in the first 2 rounds. Right? I was told there'd be no math today, but if I'm not mistaken, right, that's 54 don't? So, no? 108? 44? Huh? No. 64. Yeah, 44. So 64, probably, you know, there's room for 64. There's not room for the 44. So, and that's first round. If you go down to 32, which actually are the first round, becomes different. So I think just the really educating yourself on it. You know, having only been here for a year, not being around these guys as long, I think in the future you'll see Florida guys make better and better and better decisions leaving off. I know you guys can go run the numbers, look over the last 8 years, how many guys have left that did not go in the first round, okay, that made questionable decisions, and how many of them got big second contracts, and was it worth them leaving then? Because if they had come back, they would have had the opportunity then to be a first rounder and would have made a lot more money. It's all slotted, so you could add up all the math they potentially missed, the money they missed.
Dan, do you think Chauncey made the right move coming out? Do you think he's ready to move on to the next level?
That's his personal decision. That has nothing to do with me. That was his. That's, you know, I said it's a personal decision for everybody. So, I mean, I guess for him, time will tell whether it was a good move or bad move. You know, I mean, and it's a personal decision. I mean, our job is to inform you, not to say whether it's a good idea or bad idea, just to give you as much information as possible. Hopefully, for all our guys, I hope it really works out well for him and it ends up being the right decision.
This is essentially the same group of guys that lost to Michigan last year. How much can you use that kind of as motivation and something as a jumping off point just to prepare?
Yeah, I don't know. You could ask them. I wasn't here for that, so I don't know. They're all back there. You know, I don't know. I think Michigan is probably a very different team, and we're a very different team. So different players. We got a different coach. So I think I don't know if there's really much carryover from that game to this game.
And then just one more thing. What has Van meant to not only the receiver unit, but this team just with his experience and sort of knowledge of the game this year?
You know, I think he's helped. And I think one of the big things is his approach on how he works every day. And I think that rubs off on a lot of guys. I mean, if you watch him, you know, I mean, one, he has a great football background within his family, but he attacks every day. Very serious about his work ethic and what he does out there on the field. And you'll see him, for example, if you see him miss a route during the day, he'll sit after practice and do it 10 times to make sure he gets it right. And I think that as a group, the receiver group, and as a whole, we have you know, and Coach G does a great job with those guys, and we have some really mature older guys that are now mature older guys in that room, and how they approach their preparation. I think he's added to that room to help guys with that, but I think we have some great guys in that room that approach the game and their preparation for every game the right way. Yeah. With Manny?
Yeah. What stood out to you about just his ability to move on to become a head coach?
Well,
I mean, he had to wait a while.
I think one thing, you know, Manny is a guy that, you know, when I hired him to be my defensive coordinator, he was the defensive coordinator at Middle Tennessee State, and it was one of those fortunate deals where I'd never heard of him. We played him, and I was really impressed with what they were doing defensively. I was really impressed with, you know, how he was on the sidelines, his energy, his excitement. So I had a defensive coordinator position open after the season. I interviewed him for the job, and was really impressed with how intelligent he was. He's an extremely intelligent guy. So I think he'll do an amazing job. I'm really happy for him and his family. I know it's a goal and a dream of his to be a head coach. I know I've talked to him and spent time with him on how to prepare. And in the past, obviously not recently with him, you know, not being on our staff, but when he was on our staff, of different things. And I know he's been around some really good head coaches, so I'm sure knowing how intelligent and sharp he is, probably did a lot of things that I did, is take different notes from every program of things he really liked and things he wasn't as high on and what fit his personality, so that now he's gotten that opportunity to go do it. He's ready to step into that role, and I'm sure he's going to be really successful.
Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Have fun at practice today. We might have to put you guys, to do all these things, we're going to have a media practice workout day.
Give me the spring
With Savage, and we're going to put you guys, full access, but you guys are going to do the workout.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think my body works. Maybe when I was 20.
All right, guys, we got to get these guys.